I really did not want that Chiefs jersey in my shot, but this isn't my house, so I can't really do anything about it. What's up YouTube? It's been a long time, but this is Echo Grande here, and I'm going to review tonight's Game of Thrones episode. I know it's been a while since I posted something, and I'm sure my subscriber account will suffer greatly, but I'm not really doing this for the reviews. I'm just doing this because I'm a dude, I like TV shows, I like books, I like movies, I like talking about books, shows, movies. How am I not talking right? Regardless, I consider myself a cultural geek. That's gotta be what, like 20 cuts in like the first minute of this video? But who cares? This is Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 1 from my perspective, and I guess I'm supposed to say something about spoiler warning here, but I'm sure that everybody on this planet watches Game of Thrones, so I mean, I guess regardless, spoiler warning? So anyways, tonight's episode caught me a little off guard than I expected. Last season obviously ended off with a bigger bang than I anticipated, and somehow the season premiere was able to pick up all the pieces. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't exactly a fan of Season 5, but there were still moments in the last season that kept me interested. Now, I should warn you, I'm not a book reader, and I've been told that I should be a book reader or else I'm gonna get my nuts cut off. But regardless, I'm barely that far into the books. I would say, as far as seasons go, I have book 3 here, and I'd say I'm maybe, like, that far in. And all of this that I've procrastinated over the course of literally 2-3 years. This book is literally covered in dust. It's the first time I picked it up since I put it down the last time I read it. It's okay, sweetie. I'm gonna get to you soon. Just let me finish my Attack on Titan mangas and then probably Netflix 3 or 4 shows, and then I'll reach you. So anyway, Season 6, Episode 1 picks up where pretty much the last episode left off, with a certain dead body on the ground. Camera pans over the humongous ice wall, and then it swoops down into Castle Black, where our beloved brothers of the Night's Watch live, and my all-time favorite character in the entire Game of Thrones series lives, Alliser Thorne. No one's better than him. Screw Tyrion. Tyrion can suck the thing of one of Daenerys' dragons. I can tell already the Rule 34s on that last statement are rolling in right now. Please don't link to any in the comments. But anyways, Jon Snow is still dead. He's laying in the snow, bleeding all over the place, and then my real all-time favorite character, next to Tyrion of course, Davos Seaworth, spots his body and just runs down there, which kind of really got me thinking about what exactly Davos and the rest of the trusted Night's Watch people were doing while Jon Snow was being stabbed to death. I mean, you peek out your window and you see a little fire in the corner, a bunch of people circling it, and Jon Snow's in the middle, literally getting tossed around like a rag doll, and people are stabbing metal spikes into his gut. And your first instinct is to go to Starbucks and get a coffee. I'm not a good judge of character, so I don't know what Davos does in his free time. I digress. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and just assuming it was very late at night and everybody who actually liked Jon was just asleep. Even Ghost. So anyways, Davos and company help get Jon Snow's body into one of the huts. They lock the door. Ghost is in there, of course, and he's mourning. I almost teared up when I saw Ghost licking Jon's hands. Like, I was very disappointed that we didn't get to see a lot of connection between the Stark children and their direwolves. Although the scene with Jon, Arya, and Nymeria was very enjoyable. It brings me back to my days when I was actually enjoying the pilot and shit was actually happening. So anyways, Davos, the Red Woman, Melisandre, and all the other good Night's Watch people, that's an oxymoron, I can't believe I'm saying that. I digress. All of them are mourning Jon Snow's body, and that goes off in its own direction. Then we cut to Sansa and Theon's escape from Winterfell. And can I just say it, Theon is back. There's no more Reek. Reek is gone, Theon is back, he's helping Sansa, and I'm very satisfied with how they've done Theon's character up to this point, because throughout the entirety of his scenes in the premiere, he's still twitching, he's still in Reek form, but it seems like he's starting to embrace his Theon identity once more. It's nice how they did that they didn't just cut right to it. He's back in Theon mode, and he's helping Sansa and all that. You know, he's still in his slaver form because he's gone through a lot of stuff, and it's like, that stuff just doesn't go away. And I know the cure for that sort of trauma. You wanna know what it is? It's an ice cold, refreshing IBC cherry limeade. They don't pay me to say that. Theon and Sansa are able to escape Winterfell, and of course they get caught by a bunch of Bolton soldiers, and guess who comes trampling in to save the day? Podrick. Podrick Payne. Theon's old squire. Theon's, homie. I'm saying Theon. Tyrion's squire, the only man we know who's able to fornicate 3 prostitutes at once and actually get his money back. And still to this day, I am disappointed they did not put that deleted scene where he explains his technique to Tyrion and Bronn on the Season 3 bonus content. Oh yeah, Brienne of Tarth was there too, I forgot to mention that. Then we're back in probably what is my most least favorite place in the entirety of the Game of Thrones universe, Dorne. And who do we get to see? We get to see Ellaria Sand, all of the Sand Snakes, and Doran Martell just having a jolly old time, and everything is happy, and we all know how scenes like that turn out in Game of Thrones. Doran gets a message from King's Landing saying that Myrcella, the woman who is betrothed to his son, is dead, Trystane is held captive, and they're all on a boat sailing back to King's Landing, and the first thing he does is nothing. He just sits there. What does Ellaria Sand do? Does she keep this a secret? Does she confess to it? Does she fess up? Does she hold in her pride? No, she kills everybody. One of Ellaria's little sand snakes stabs the big black guy in the back. He falls to the ground, rolls down the stairs. Ellaria pulls out a little knife herself and right in the heart of Doran. Once more killing off one of the only sensible characters in the universe and destroying all rationality with the Dorne characters as we know it. But that's not all from that story arc, because guess what's going on while Ellaria Sand is killing her own people in Dorne? Trystane, Doran's son, is getting stabbed in the face, because the other 2 Sand Snakes decided to sneak on the boat and tie up all loose ends. I will admit I wasn't exactly rooting for Myrcella and Trystane in the beginning, because I had for a while a general rule of thumb when it comes to couples in Game of Thrones, and the only couple that seems to be getting by at least semi-decently, I'm not gonna lie, is Cersei and Jaime. I mean, yeah, sure, all their kids are getting slaughtered, and they are not exactly in the highest reputation right now. Their father's dead, and their other brother is over on the other side of the world. But at least they're not getting poisoned by a kiss, or getting stabbed through the mouth with a spear. I mean, Myrcella's death kind of threw me off, the way that she's talking to Jaime like, I knew you were my father, I don't care about it, this won't affect me in later years or traumatize me for life, and I don't care. And Jaime's all like, well, this will be fine then. And then Myrcella starts bleeding from the nose and she dies. It was a bit surprising to me. I mean, obviously this is Game of Thrones, so it kind of reminded me of what I was watching. But during the year going around to this next season, it totally phased from my mind, and I completely forgot what I was watching. Because honestly, Trystane's death, getting stabbed through the mouth with a spear, was one of the most gruesome things, and I did not expect that for this episode. That was the moment that reminded me of what I was watching. Then, of course, we cut to Tyrion and Varys. I mean, nothing really interesting happens there. They're walking through. Although there is a very funny moment that I loved. When Tyrion sees a mother and her baby, he takes pity on them and offers them coins. And he's speaking in their language, but she thinks that he's paying because he wants to eat her baby. It was a bit disturbing at first, because I know Tyrion has this pressure of having to rule over everybody, and yet he has this woman being afraid of him for whatever reason, and then Varys reveals it, and then he has to end up picking up the pieces. That was pretty funny. But I have to say, Tyrion and Varys is one of the best pairings on the show. I've deduced by now that Tyrion is pretty much the mainest of the main characters in this show. Because while everyone else, has a strong story arc and everyone, is kind of in their same area, Tyrion is jumping all over the place and he's been everywhere. But anyways, then we cut to Daenerys, who's being led away by another Khalasar. And I was a bit confused on what exactly was going to happen to her, because when I see her getting captured in the season finale of Season 5, I was thinking they knew who she was, and they knew that she was mixed up with the black magic that got her husband killed, and maybe they thought that Drogo had an unfair death or something like that. But while I hated the Dorne scenes, this one was pretty uninteresting. They take her to their call, I think his name is Khal Moro or something like that. And of course we go into cliche 667, where Daenerys reveals some information that they had no idea before, and then all of a sudden they have sudden respect for her, they cut her from her bounds, and they promise to protect her and all of that. But is that the first thing she does? Not at all. She waits for him to approach her, try to rip off her clothes, tells him not to touch her, says that she is Daenerys Stormborn, she's Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, Queen of Marine, and all of that, and even then the guy doesn't give a crap. And then she reveals that she's the widow of Khal Drogo, and then they start respecting her. I mean, Daenerys, if you really knew the Dothraki, wouldn't you want to lead up with that? Like, wouldn't you want to assure them that you're on their side and you're not just some peasant girl? It could have easily gone like this. Hey, my guy's tacked you. You're gonna be my sex slave now. Bitch, please. I was married to one of you guys once, and he dead now. Oh, you were married to one of us? Which one? Khal Drogo, fool. He was the manniest of the mans. Oh, I am so sorry. I did not know you were married to Khal Drogo. Here, you want a horse heart? And then we cut to one of the most sympathetic and yet most pitiful characters on the show, Arya Stark. Because we all know how her story ended in the season finale. She stabs Meryn Trant in both eyes, in his back, in his side, and cuts his throat and gets her personal revenge. And what does she get as a payment? She goes blind. So of course in the premiere we see her blind. She's begging for coins. She gets a couple, just doing things that a normal blind little girl would do. Which also includes Jaqen H'ghar's Skanko assistant coming to her with 2 sticks, giving her one, and beating the crap out of her with the other. Like I said, normal things for normal blind girls. And we are back to Castle Black. Davos and all the good guy Night Watchers are still surrounding Jon's body and they're locked in a room. Alliser Thorne comes walking up, he's got 30 people with crossbows watching the door, he's got 10-15 men behind him, and he just knocks and politely asks for them to let him in. Of course Davos and all of them say no, and Davos becomes the badass that we all know and love. But who's to say that they're not in a worse spot now? I mean, this is the first time that we actually have a main character's dead body still appearing on the show. So even though we all hope that it leads up to Jon Snow's resurrection, I still don't know what the heck is going to happen to everybody in that room, especially Davos. I mean, Alliser Thorne comes walking up to the door all like, "Hey, I've got an army of crossbows and swords out here. We have a red woman. Also, I'd like some mutton." Oh, he brought up Melisandre. I gotta tell you, I knew exactly what was gonna happen next. We cut to a scene of Melisandre in a room, she looks at herself in the mirror, and I'm just thinking, this girl is not who she says, is she? Takes off her magic necklace and she turns old. I knew the theories were buzzing that Melisandre was gonna be the one to bring Jon back from the dead. I mean, look at this girl's track record. She believes Stannis is gonna take the throne, he's gonna be victorious. Look how that turned out. She sees a fire in Gendry's heart while he's with the Brotherhood Without Banners. Look how that turned out. We haven't seen Gendry for 3 seasons. Hello? And she believed Jon Snow was of major importance. Look how that turned out! So I think it's safe to say that Melisandre is nothing but a Chekhov's gun at this point. I mean, it's building up the idea that somebody could bring Jon back from the dead. Look at Beric Dondarrion at the Hound's Trial by Combat. So I think it's safe to say that the writers of this glorious fanfiction we call Game of Thrones are just trying to remind us that even the most powerful magic wielder is still just a frail old person. But anyways, off to the too long didn't read version. I liked it. This season started off a lot stronger than last season, even though, like I said at the beginning, the season 5 had some pretty interesting moments. I just wish it progressed a little further. And I know most of it was being halted because the next book is not even written yet. I know George R.R. Martin had promised it to be released by this season. I know I called Game of Thrones a glorified fan fiction earlier, and I do not think it is that at all. I just hope the writers have some decency and respect for the source material and they don't go off way too half-cocked. They already screwed up a lot of other storylines from the books. If they make any other diversions, that it's not anything too drastically different than what would be expected of our beloved Game of Thrones characters. So I'm gonna end this video with the conclusion that I think Jon Snow is dead, Melisandre's not going to bring him back, somebody might bring him back, that might be the season finale, who knows. Hopefully we'll get some progression on that story arc in the next episode, and I will be there to review it for you guys once more. This has been another Echo Review, thanks for watching guys, I will see you next week. My name is Matt and I am signing out.